two former UFC fighters filed a new antitrust lawsuit against the promotion, against the UFC. And this one isn't so much about monetary damages as it is uh, the future of the UFC, right? Because it's not, this one's more about former UFC fighters saying, hey, UFC more or less has a monopoly over contracts, which hurts us from signing with other promotions. It even hurts fighters that aren't tied to a promotion, right? Because it makes it hard to get into UFC. Then you're forced to go to a different promotion. And this lawsuit is going to be all over the place. And it's going to really, the ultimate goal, I believe, when I'm looking at this new antitrust lawsuit, is that they're going to try to change the way the UFC does its contracts. So that's really where the story lies, right? So one of the things that sticks out for me is when you sign with the UFC, let's just say make up something. You sign a 6-fight deal. The number per fight doesn't matter, right? But you sign a 6-fight deal. You don't know if that 6-fight deal is going to happen in 2 years, 6 years, or it's indefinite, right? So let's just say you get a 6-fight deal. The UFC isn't obligated per the contract to give you or offer you 3 fights a year. Now, a lot of times the fighters are turning down fights. Maybe they offer you a fight against someone you don't want to fight that's below you, right? So if the UFC is trying to force you into a corner, into a certain fight that they want, and you're not going for it, then they just offer you whatever fight they want, and you say no. And they do that 3 times a year, and then you don't see some of these guys fighting for a while. So there's all types of things going on behind the scenes. But I say this, okay, and this has nothing to do with the law. It's just looking at the sport. And I look at it and I say, well, let's not forget what happened to boxing, right? Boxing started out as this great sport, and then it quickly splintered into 5 or 6 different promotions, if you will. WBA, WBC, WBO, WB this, that, and the other thing. And the problem that we saw is you don't know who necessarily the champion of any division is, because there might be 5 different champions on the planet. There might be some champions with 2 or 3 belts. So you got 2 or 3 champions in this certain division in boxing. And it just, and you can never get the guys to fight. So what's going on now with boxing is they're trying to reconsolidate the thing so we can get the best fighters in the world fighting. Because if not, people lose interest. You know, if the UFC splinters into PFL, Bellator's, you know, let's just say, I know Bellator is kind of faded, but say the UFC splinters into PFL being at the same level, Bellator being at the same level, 2 or 3 other promotions being at the same level, and you have 5 different heavyweight champions. Well, who's the real champ? The UFC is not allowing its guys to fight against other promotions. It's not going to happen. So it will be interesting to see how this develops. I think the UFC is at a height right now, as long as Dana White's there, where the fighters are going to want to be in the UFC, regardless what the contracts are. If the contracts change, it could open the sport up to different promotions, but I don't think that will happen initially. That would happen when you get a better promoter in a different promotion. And the UFC parts ways with Dana White at some point, not because they want to, but because, you know, for whatever reason in the future. Could be 20 years from now, could be tomorrow. We don't know. But you get a better promoter in a different promotion than you do in the UFC, and then things start to go sideways. And yeah, it's, you know, you want to provide equal competition, but then the sport gets diminished and ruined at the same time. So what is the overall goal of the lawsuit? I just don't agree with the fighters doing this, and it's usually former fighters, right? That made their money or are unhappy about the money they made, and they're gone. They don't really care about future fighters. It makes it sound like they do, but they really don't. Yeah, you want to provide equal opportunity for different promotions, but then that could weaken the overall sport, and then nobody's making money. So what's the overall goal here? That's the problem with that.